to empower greater local production. We do have some pharmaceuticals that do local production, but it's an infinitesimal blip on the radar screen in terms of what they actually produce here. Most of it is imported, and they're licensed to bring it in. You see produced in so, but marketed by, and then the local company. But that doesn't really help our situation, because at the end of the day, we're still paying foreign exchange to bring it. It's still subject to the vagaries of the exchange rate, which makes it prohibitively expensive. So, but this is a good first step, and we hope that they sustain it and even expand on it in such a way that healthcare costs will continue to reduce.
You even have a case where people approach the pharmacists now and says, I'm feeling this way, what kind of medication do I use? So basically, they're cutting the doctors out. The doctor is meant to, consult and tell you, okay, this is what you use, go to the pharmacist to get it. So it's a very important point you raised there, and it's primarily because of the cost of healthcare. We can take the Vanguard newspaper now. The Vanguard newspaper leads with education, and I want us to pitch our tent here for a bit, because this is quite vital. You see, stakeholders disagree with Wike, NECO on use of CBT. But let me take the explainers. Facilities grossly inadequate. That's coming from NAPTEN, NANS, CONUA, ASU. So NANS students. CONUA is also meant to be like university. It's meant to be like a twin of ASU in that sense. And then, of course, there's ASU. And you see experts saying it will badly affect students' writing skills. It's going to kill practicals. That's coming from a representative. And you see an education advocate saying our mode of examinations unadaptable to CBT. But the Ministry of Education has the last say, at least on the front page, saying it'll reduce exam malpractice. So I laid these comments before you. What is your take?
Well, my initial reaction is that our writing skills have eroded anyway. Social media has killed our ability to effectively communicate through the written word. I mean, you see people try to put together a coherent paragraph or sentence, and you're horrified, because the other day I tried to sign a check and I looked, I didn't recognize my own handwriting. I'm not even talking about the intellectual aspect of trying to cobble together a coherent paragraph. But
when last did you actually...
Even just your calligraphy is gone, because when was the last time you did? So realistically, technology exists to make life easier. It exists to make it more secure. It exists. So there's got to be a way to harness technology in a way that will address the shortcomings that the stakeholders are concerned about. I see computer-based testing as a positive. It's in keeping with global best practices. It saves time. It reduces intervention, because imagine in the old days when we used to write, teachers would have to sit and read all that and grade all that, and many times you didn't have problems with their marking scheme, and they read my stuff wrong. They're human, they make mistakes as well. But with the computer, errors are reduced. Malpractice is virtually eliminated. That's the truth, because what you put into the computer is what comes out of it, and as a result, they're able to plug. I mean, I read the other day that yesterday that Wike English was leaked before the exam came out, and they said they transported the papers by road. In this day and age of technology, 2025, we're still transporting exam papers by road across the country, and then they outsource the printing to an outside printer, who of course has workers, who have relatives, who have children, who are taking the exam. Might even be writing the exam themselves. So there are too many possibilities for corruption to take root in the manual old system. So the introduction of technology plugs a lot of these loopholes, and I think that if we're concerned about writing skills, yes, CBT, you're choosing multiple choice. They give you a thing, is it A, B, C, or D? So you're probably doing process of elimination even if you don't know the correct answer. So what does that do to our ability for critical thinking? Our ability to articulate a coherent thought from the beginning with an introduction, an argument, and a conclusion. I would say that tests in general, examinations in general, don't necessarily appraise your cognitive and intellectual skills. It's just a snapshot at a point in time of a very narrow aspect of what you've learned.
But if that is the case, haven't we missed the mark? Hasn't the purpose of education been defeated if we can't rely on the outcomes as a true test of the students' cognitive abilities?
No, what I'm saying is that it takes more than just an exam. That's why you see that the exam, the almighty final that we all used to be afraid of back in the school days, is just a very small, insignificant component of your overall score. At the end of the day, class participation, your project, your various aspects combine to make your total score. And what that is doing is examining the fact that you are well-rounded in all that you have learned. And not that, because you can cram for an almighty final, it doesn't mean you know anything. You can study overnight, burn the night candle, eat cola nut, drink coffee, in the morning go and regurgitate everything you crammed. And as soon as you've regurgitated it on paper, you've forgotten it the next day. How has that helped your education? So examinations are very limited in evaluating your cognitive and intellectual ability. So I don't necessarily think that CBT is a drawback. I think that it simplifies a necessary aspect of the educational process to determine a portion of what you have learned over time.
All right, fantastic. I wish you can continue with the conversation. And again, you've raised a very vital point. That's the ability, there's scholarly or scholarship of people in terms of intellectual rigor. I'm always concerned about that. In fact, the other day I had to tweet, I say, can we just slow down on technology for a moment? Because it feels like technology may be helping us to have our bath if it's not happening already. Because when you see what's going on in China, it's almost scary. Okay, what else is left for human beings to do for themselves if this is how far we're going? And they know we are consumers of everything, literally. So maybe it's to find a balance and help us out at the end of the day. But quite an interesting perspective you brought to this conversation. As far as the dailies are concerned, Mr. Akintobi, we'll always have you right here. Public Affairs Analyst joining us on the program. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to the very first part of our conversation. It's a packed show, and we'll explore all of the conversations right here on the program. Join us again.